referred to one of my favorite passages. I've referred to this passage a lot. But this morning, we're going to delve into it a little bit deeper. And I want to talk to you about why Jesus went to parties and why we should too. And we'll talk about it here in just a moment. John chapter 2, and it is beginning in verse 1. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman," I got nothing, folks. "Why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to his servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best until now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples, and there he stayed for a few days. And let's pray. Father, again, now we pray that you will bless these words as they go forth. Father, encourage us to make sure that we are the kind of people that matter to the people that matter. And we'll thank you for it in Christ's name. Amen. Steve Brown from Key Life said so many years ago, and I've never forgotten this. He said, some Christians, some believers, it seems like they have taken a miserable pill and seem like they feel like they've been given permission to medicate the whole world. Ever seen that? How many of you have ever seen a miserable believer? It's happened a lot. In fact, it's the reason why a lot of people don't want to go to church. Now, misery comes in so many different ways, doesn't it? It comes through criticism and backbiting and gossiping and all of the things that can happen with us. Because misery comes when we start to look at ourselves and we think, man, things are just so bad in my life, things are so difficult in my life that we really can't look at what is going on around us. Now, here's the thing. There is misery in the world, and that's what I don't understand. There's enough misery in the world to go around for me to create my own misery. I mean, all you have to do is look at what's been going on. Or you can just get on Facebook and see how very positive everybody's life is or how very miserable it is. You notice it's just never mundane. It's either they're going on vacation, hey, this is me skiing, hey, this is me at a restaurant, hey, this is me with my new dress or my new clothes, or boy, my life stinks and I'm going to die. It's never anything in between, you know. Sometimes you get somebody to go, here's my food. But misery comes to us in so many different ways. And here's the problem. I think some Christians and some believers become miserable because they've somehow equated that if I suffer and I look like I'm suffering, that's going to show that I love Jesus more. That the more I suffer, the more I love Jesus. Folks, I don't have to go out and create suffering. There's enough around me. And I think we've made the mistake to believe that this solemn, this attitude, this, oh, woe is me, or, oh, I'm going to go do this. Oh, I'm reading through the Bible this year. Look at me. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And it's taking me so much time, and I'm just doing so much for the Lord, and I'm so busy. And people look and go, oh, because it seems like we're not embracing and enjoying life. Now, it's interesting because I grew up sort of in a religious setting, and most of you know that there were restrictions. In fact, there were a lot of restrictions. You all know, growing up, if you grew up as a Baptist, you know, you didn't drink and you didn't smoke, and there were certain things you didn't do, and that's just how it was as a Baptist. And, you know, you always tried to get out to dinner on Sunday morning before the Methodists got out so you could beat them to the buffet, right? And the Presbyterians, they were still in church, you know. So But there were things that you can't, it's like if you did any kind of celebration, there was something wrong. You were having too much fun, you better look out. Baptists, we were like the no fun people, you know? I mean, we were at church every time the doors opened and we had a solemn look on our face. And boy, I never forget the first time somebody clapped at my church, they went, and everybody went and looked at them. Like, oh, you clapping in church? My, how times have changed. And I think the whole time, and I so appreciate what I learned. I appreciate the people that reached out to me. I appreciate meeting Christ there. I appreciate so much of that. But when I look, I see how much they got right, but I also see how much most of us got wrong by understanding Jesus. Because that was not him at all. Jesus was the kind of person that mattered to the people that mattered. So what do you mean by that? You know, Jesus didn't really necessarily care about mattering to everyone, like the Pharisees, like all of the others. He would say things to them, but he mattered to the people that mattered, and he really wanted to make sure that he mattered to them. He cared about how he interacted. He cared about what he did. And there's no in the scriptures, to me, there are no accidents. This is the miracle, the first miracle that Jesus did that you didn't hear a lot growing up. Because it's where Jesus turned water into wine. And I heard all these different stories about, well, it wasn't real wine, and it wasn't this, and it wasn't that. The fact of the matter is, this was real wine. Now, there's a lot of things, and we're going to talk about that throughout this, but this was a celebration. This was not a miracle that Jesus does, as we'll look at it, where, something important like, I'm going to heal the blind person. I'm going to heal somebody that can't hear. I'm going to help somebody that's never been able to walk. I'm going to actually raise the dead. No, but it seemed much more minor and mundane than that. But it was his first miracle for a reason. And boy, the lessons that we learn from it. Let's dig in and take a look at what was happening in this particular text in John chapter 2. Now, there are a couple of things in this setting that we need to realize. Number one, Jesus, the disciples that are with him are not all 12 of them. It is just a few of the disciples as we look back before what happens in the book of John, and you correspond it with other scriptures. So I want you to notice a few things. I want to point them out, and then we're going to come back and look at the lessons. So on the third day, a wedding took place in Cana of Galilee. Now, here, I've read this 1,000 times. I've talked on this passage, and it says, and Jesus' mother was there. I've run past that, because if you saw it, Jesus' mother was the one that came to him and said, hey, need you to do something. Mama came and said, Jesus, Yeshua, we have to talk. We got a problem. Now, what this says to us is a couple of different things. Number one, this was definitely someone that the family knew. Number two, it actually could have been a sibling of Jesus, because he was approximately 30 years old. So it could have been a sibling, definitely someone that they knew. No, my wife said, Mary was a wedding coordinator. I go, nah, try again. There was another person. But Mary had some influence on what was going on here. Some definite influence. And so it says Mary was there. Now notice what it says next. And Jesus and his disciples had also been what? Invited to the wedding. We've talked about this before. You know, when you're having a party, you know what happens. You go down the list and you're like, well, we can only have so many people. And so, and then you start talking to everybody, you go, why did you put them on the list? And the other person says, well, I think we kind of need to have them because after all, and then you go back and forth and say, okay, because this is going to cost us. We can't have this one here. And you start eliminating people, and you have to start cutting, and you find out we only have so much money that we can spend to do all of this. So these are going to be invited. Well, Aunt so-and-so is going to have her feelings hurt. Uncle George is going to not be happy about this. And what about cousin Felipe? Ooh, that's going to be a problem. So you're cutting. So what happens is the people that make the short list are the people that you really care about and that you really, really want there. They're the people that are the closest. They're the people that you want them to take part in the celebration. You know they're going to be fun to be around. You don't want somebody sitting there go, oh my, he is such a cosmic killjoy. We don't want that guy there. And you kind of go, okay, maybe we're just not going to tell them that we're having a wedding, you know? They want, there's the people that they have to invite, and there's the people that they want to invite, okay? And so now, Jesus and his disciples, and the disciples, they were all invited guests to the wedding. People that actually wanted Jesus there at the celebration. So watch what happens next. So here they are. They're invited to the wedding. Now, you know, we run past this when the wine was gone. Wine's gone. Now, let me just say something about this. This was not a symbolic thing. Wine was used in Jewish culture as a celebration. Now, let me hasten to say something, because growing up Baptist, we were told that you don't drink. Now, the issue in the scriptures has and always will be drunkenness. It is not, the Bible does, as much as I would love to tell you the Bible teaches total abstinence, it does not, period, end of story. Now, I would not do anything. I've told you all before. I had somebody that came up to me one time and said, is this, at the communion, is this real? And I go, no, we're not going to use real wine. We could, but we're not, because there could be people that are recovering alcoholics and it'll put them right over the edge. So I'm not going to do anything to deliberately offend somebody. But this was not a major issue. The wine had run out, and this was serious stuff. Now let me tell you why. See, when the first century people are reading this, they're going, ooh, the wine ran out. You know, we look at it and go, oh, bummer, I'm leaving. Some people will, you know. Oh, wine's gone, I'm out, you know. Come on, there are people who are going to do that. Don't tell me. Some of you are going, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Other people are going, yeah, man, I wouldn't stay there if the wine was gone, you know. And so anyway, so the wine's gone. But it was much more serious in this culture. Okay? Very, very serious. And let me explain to you why. Two things could happen. Number one, it was the height of embarrassment. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought you had enough food for a party and everybody was over and then you ran out? My wife never does that, but there's people that have. You know, and all of a sudden it becomes an embarrassing thing. We're like, oh my gosh, we ran out of food. And then they're going to go tell everybody. Especially if you have relatives there and you run out of food, and you're going to be at the next dinner table. You're going, can you believe that they didn't have enough food for that party? And did you see the way those decorations were out? I mean, word spreads. We were having a Super Bowl party at my house a number of years ago, and my wife had to travel. Pam is a stickler for details. Everything has to be just so. She leaves. She has to go. I'm stuck with a Super Bowl party. So I get outside, and I got tables, and she's left all of the stuff out, you know, the tablecloths and all of that. Well, it's windy. Tablecloths aren't going to stay down. Now, what I didn't know is that they made these little clips. Well, I didn't know that you actually had to use the clips, so I figured I'd do something else. I got gray duct tape. Guys, is that a problem? Gray duct tape. I mean, I tried to get it underneath, you know, where nobody would be able to see it. I tried to put it underneath there, but nope. And then, of course, she got texted by people who will go nameless to tell her that there was a problem and that Bob was using duct tape. I get texted later, really? Really, you're using duct tape to do this? You know, so you know as well as I do that word spreads, and it spreads quickly when something goes awry, when something goes wrong. All right, so now here's the problem. They're like, oh my gosh, you know, the wine is gone. But now, so there was embarrassment. Second, listen to this. In this culture, do you know that people could actually sue someone over the wine running out? There could actually be a lawsuit. When I tell you these people were serious about their wine, they were serious. So the problem is embarrassment and potential lawsuit. The wine ran out. This was absolutely, positively unthinkable. The wine was gone. Jesus' mother said to him, come here a second. Listen, we have a problem. They don't have any more wine. Now you think about this. Really? I mean, this guy's the Messiah. You know, we got people that can't talk that we need to help them talk. We got people that can't walk, and we're gonna tell them stand up and walk. We got people that can't hear, and we're gonna make them hear. We got people that can't see. We got people that are dead, and we're gonna raise them up. And you're worried about somebody's embarrassment and possible legal situation. And so he says to her, woman, now you guys that have a female in your life, either your mother or if your wife or your girlfriend, I do not suggest that when you leave here today, you say to them, woman, can you? Because nothing will be heard after the phrase woman. Because when we hear that, we go, oh my goodness, or you stand at a distance, I will often, I'll often joke and, I'll sit, and I don't really believe this, but I've said when my wife has been behind me, I'll go, the problem is when we gave women the right to vote, and I'll go, and they'll say, you're either brave or stupid. I go, no, I'm just kidding, really. You just don't say stuff like that, seriously. So the woman actually, as we've talked about before, is not a derogatory term. It's actually a term of endearment. The way that you read it could, because remember when Jesus was on the cross, he looks down at his mother and he says to John, woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. So he looks at his mother, he goes, woman, mom, endearing term. Why are you involving me? My hour's not yet come. The revelation's not come yet. So what are you trying to get me to do? Now, some people believe there's again two interpretations of the story. One of them is we don't hear anything else about Joseph, so that Joseph may have already died. So Jesus, being the oldest, is the head of the family, the oldest male. And so it's like, well, Jesus, I'm here and your dad's gone and you need to fix this. The other, of course, is the fact that she knew that he was the Messiah. She knew that there was something special about him. But he had not yet, according to the scriptures, performed any miracles. The only interaction that we see with him when he's little with his family is that he goes, look, I got to be about my father's business. But no miracles, as recorded in the scriptures, have been done. So it could be a hybrid of both of these. She looks at Jesus and it's like, hey, listen, fix this. Fix it. So he says, why are you involving me? All right, let's do this. And his mother said to the servants, hey guys, come here. Listen, whatever he tells you to do, just do it. Now, Mary had some clout. She had some pull. So we don't know exactly where, again, what the relationship was. And so he said, whatever they do, whatever. So then notice this, next by stood 6 stone water jars, not the kind that they stored water in, but the kind that were used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, special pots, and each holding 20 to 30 gallons. You know how heavy 20 to 30 gallons of water is? Do you know how much that is? I don't know, those big bottles of water, I don't know how many gallons those things are. Oh, they're 5. Okay, so you imagine that. So you've got at least 4 to 6 of those things, and together, and imagine carrying. You know how heavy those are. Okay, so you have that much. Now some of you are going, man, that's a lot of wine. When you're thinking about this story, that's a lot of wine. And so he tells them, go and fill these pots up. Now, so I can imagine these guys. Really, you want us to go fill them up with water? So he tells them to do that. And he says to the servants, fill the jars with water. So they filled them to the brim. You know what you do when you don't want something to be quite so heavy, you just kind of don't fill it all the way. They filled it to the top. I don't know how many people it took to carry these with water. Mary said, go do it. And they went and did it, and that was it. So he then says to them, now draw out some of, and take it to the master of the banquet. So he didn't say to them, I want you to draw the water out and taste it. He says, draw some out, now take it to the master of the banquet. The person who's the MC, the person who's the head, the person who's the coordinator, the one that's supposed to be making sure that all of this is taken care of. And so they did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine, and he didn't realize where it had come from, though the servants who draw the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside. Listen to this. Because the bridegroom was ultimately responsible. And he says, listen, everybody brings out the good stuff first. So after everybody doesn't know whether it's the good stuff anymore because they've had enough, Then they give them the bad stuff. But then he said this, but I'm going to take some textual license, but you have saved the best for last. You have saved the best for last. What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory. Notice this, the first of the signs. And notice what it said, and his disciples believed in him. Wow. Nobody raised from the dead. Nobody blind that got to see. Nobody couldn't hear, hearing again. Nobody that was dead gets rise from the dead. It's a simple wedding, a feast, a celebration, a party, a place that you would think, why in the world is Jesus doing this here? Now, I agree with Max Lucado. This is not an original thought with me. Somebody once asked Max Lucado, why do you think Jesus turned the water into wine? Are you ready? Max Lucado said, because he wanted the party to continue. And all the Baptists went, ah! It wasn't that he wanted everybody to get drunk. That wasn't the point. But it was a sign of celebration. And it's no accident that the first miracle that Jesus does is he does it at a wedding feast, at a celebration where everybody is embracing and enjoying. They're connected. They're celebrating. They're having a great time. And Jesus said, look, this is the way it's supposed to be. There's going to be enough misery in life. Let's embrace all of this together and let's continue this celebration as long as we can. And by the way, when you read the scriptures at the end, the marriage supper of the Lamb, the celebration that we're going to have is going to be so spectacular. I saw the greatest meme this week. You know, with Billy Graham's passing, it was really a very, very difficult thing. And for a lot of people, and I reached out to a couple of the family members that I know and that knew him. And so Billy Graham, I noticed this meme this week, and it was Billy Graham going up to the gates of heaven, and the gates were open, and it was Jesus that was there, and he says, come on in, Billy. There's a few people that would like to meet you. And it showed these throngs of people along the side of the road as far as you could see. People that he had supposedly reached for Christ. They were there for the celebration. That's what it's going to be like. That's what heaven's going to be like. There's not going to be any misery. There's not going to be any hopelessness. It's going to be celebration. It's going to be a banquet. It's going to be a party. And Jesus says, this is how I'm starting this, and this is how I'm finishing it. And this is the type of people that I want you to be. I want you to go to parties too. In fact, I want you to be the type of people that are like me, that other people want to be around, that get invited to the parties too. Ooh. So we talk about being like Jesus. And the question is, do the people that matter, are they inviting us into their circle? See, notice I said the people that matter. Not everybody's going to matter. And what I mean is everybody should matter, but not everybody will. You know, no matter what you do, there's going to be people that are not going to like you no matter what. No matter what happens. So some people you're not going to be able to. Pharisees didn't like Jesus. No matter what they did, no matter what he said. I mean, he could have said, "No, I agree with every point of the law," and they would have went, "No, you're lying," whatever. So Jesus made sure that he mattered to the people that mattered. And the people that mattered to him and that he wanted to matter to were the people that had been forgotten, the people that have been left out by religion, the people that have been criticized and condemned and all of that stuff. And he says, look, these are the people that matter. I want them to understand that there is an abundant life. in John chapter 10, verse 10, he says, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Now, don't mistake that. He's not talking about abundance and prosperity, as you hear people talk about. He goes, I've come that you might have abundant life, a life that is filled to the brim, to the max. I want you to celebrate it and to embrace it. And that's why I've come, that you won't just have that life in eternity, but you'll have that life here. But in the meantime, you, people of Christ, I want you to be like me. Now, there's a few lessons that I think we learn in here in us being like Jesus so that we can matter to the people that matter. So so that we can be the people that are invited. So we're not the people that have been, taking the miserable pill and feel like we give them permission to medicate the whole world. We're going to have stuff that happens in our life, but I see some lessons in here, and I'm going to give you 3 of them very, very quickly, and we'll be done. First of all, what I saw about Jesus is that, first of all, and we pointed this out, Jesus was attractive. I don't mean physically. I mean, let's use a different word. Let's use the word attracting. People were naturally attracted to Jesus. The people that mattered, his target audience, the people that he was seeking to reach to, they wanted to be around. They were like, man, I want to be around you. I don't want to be, he didn't take people and put them off. They were like, there's something different about him. I want to be around him. I want to converse with him. I want to be in his sphere. They were like, oh, there goes Jesus. He's across the lake. Let's go run across the lake. We're going to go and we're going to see him, because it wasn't just that he was charismatic. Wasn't that. It was that he was authentic. And what you saw was what you got. And what he said rang true. And people were like, wow, there's something different about this guy. Yes, there is, folks. He did his first miracle at a wedding. And the first miracle was simply turning water into wine. And the only problem that would have been with the wine is that somebody would have been embarrassed and possibly been sued. That was the worst thing that could have happened. But they invited Jesus because they were attracted to him and they wanted to be around him. Second, here, listen, this is very interesting. Attracting. But second, Jesus was interested in them as people. You know what often happens, and when I'm doing communications consulting, we miss this. Most of the time, as has been said, we're talking, while somebody else is talking, we're not listening, we're thinking about what we're going to say next. We can't, and we all can't wait to get out. Oh no, I got to think of something clever to say. And meanwhile, we're missing the whole thing. We're not listening to anything that they are saying, because people become interested in you because you're interested in them. Jesus was interested in what was going on. When his mother came to him and said, okay, well, let's try to fix this. He was interested in making sure that everything continued the way that it should. He was interested in helping out his mother and helping out the groom and helping out the family and fixing the situation. He was interested. Let me ask you a question. How interested in people are you? And what kind of people are you interested in? Listen, I am in dealing with grieving people and folks like that all the time. I'm extremely interested in that situation. It's not that I'm interested in you, but I'm especially interested in people that are unbelievers and what they think about us as believers, because some of the times it's weird what they think, especially what they think of pastors. I never tell people, if they don't know, I don't tell them a pastor. I'm like, please don't tell them I'm a pastor. Because all of a sudden they quit cussing, and they get this weird fake smirky smile on their face, and they start talking like, they almost start talking in these and thous. You're thinking, come on, man, be real, What do you think? When I hit my finger with a hammer, do you think I say, oh, praise Jesus? No, I don't. You don't want to be there when it happens. I wish I could tell you that I'm more spiritual than you, but sometimes I'm not. I'm just as human. So it's being interested in what they're thinking and what they're doing, and interested in how you are coming across. I asked for permission to tell this story about how Sheila and Jared and I first had a discussion. I had to actually call her to remember the details because I'm much older than she is. But I'm going to confess, this was at least 9 years ago. We all found ourselves at a Christmas event, at a Christmas political event, but it was a party. And so they came up and started talking, and it was a lounge / restaurant. And so we were sitting there and we started talking. So I decided to buy them drinks. So after somewhat of a lengthy conversation, I don't know, 20, 30, 45 minutes, we're talking about all the stuff that's going on in the world. And I found out everything that they do and what she does and what he did and what he was doing and all that. Then they asked the magic question, what do you do? And of course, by that point, when I told her I was a pastor, there's total like, so at that, do you know that's exactly how I want people to react? I want people to go, oh, you're human. No, I don't have to get drunk. I don't have to do any of that. They go, oh. Or I love this one. Sometimes if I'm in a hospital with somebody, the family's there, other family that's never met me, they leave and they go, he's the pastor? It's not because you're rude or anything like that. It's just because you want to be interested in other people. And they have an image already in their minds that we are judgmental and rude and nasty. Where do you think they got that image? From Christians that are rude and judgmental and nasty. But we don't have to keep it like that. Jesus was attracting and he was interested. But the other thing that I want you to realize is he actually was considerate. Yes, of unbelievers and of other people's feelings and really where they were at. What else? How else can you explain the fact that he cared enough? It's not that big of a deal, is it? Okay, so you're going to be embarrassed. Why is that the Savior of the world's responsibility to fix your wine situation? Why is that an issue? Because he cared at the deepest level about where people were at. You think about the woman that was caught in the act of adultery. I love that story because it was a setup. And then he says, you this without sin, cast the first stone. And boom, boom, boom. They each started dropping their stones, the oldest to the youngest. They walk away and Jesus said, look, where's the people that are condemning you? Well, I'm not going to condemn you either. You go and you sin no more. He was even considerate about her feelings at the moment because she was thrown in front of them, bruised and bloodied, and people were judging her and ready to take her out. And Jesus cared about her at that moment, cared about her position, cared about where she was coming from, cared about how she was feeling. He was considerate. And that is why people wanted him to be at their party. Because he was, C, compassionate, I, interested, A, attractive. CIA. We all need to be in that. We all need to be a member of that CIA. That's how the world has changed. By being like him. By being like him in our interactions in the real world and online. You don't think people are mean-spirited? Go online. The Christians are the ones that surprise me more than anything else. What would Jesus do? He would be compassionate. He would be interested. He would be attracting. And guess what? When he does that, everybody wanted to be around him. And he wound up mattering to the people that mattered. Let's pray.